Good morning and welcome to this session of the live coaching classes conducted by the Board of Studies of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. So, we are going to have one more class. We had a class yesterday and again today morning. Nice to have people here. Okay, Jnanesh is here. Good morning, sir. Nikita Namal is here. Good morning. Alok, Harshit Jaiswal. Welcome, all of you. Morning. So, today we are going to start a new topic. Before that, let me begin with my usual prayer. Sahana bhavatu, sahano bhunaktu, saha viryam karvavahai, tejas vinavadhitamastu, ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So once again, good morning. And we are going to take up a new topic today, which is called the General Clauses Act. The General Clauses Act, very old enactment. You can see that it was enacted in the year 1897, pre-independence, right? Not even, I wouldn't say even pre-independence, I would say colonial. 1800s, 1857, Queen Victoria took over our country. We became the subjects of the Queen Victoria. Okay, you can see that in Kolkata, when you go to Victoria Memorial, you can see Victoria's speech welcoming her subjects to the dominion, British dominions. So we became British subjects in 1857. This was just 1897, 40 years later. And it's a long way for independence yet. 1947, quite a long way before we actually get independence. So in between, the British were making laws for us. So you should understand a little bit of this background. You might ask, so we didn't have our own parliament. We didn't have our own parliament. So what happened? The British Parliament was enacting laws for India. Only for India. See, the beauty was we had a written constitution from day one. Britain had no written constitution, has no written constitution. Had no, has no. They have a few documents, a few charters and all that. That's it. Magna Carta, that's it. So, but when it came to India, the British made a lot of good laws, including your Indian Contract Act. Am I correct? It's called the Indian Contract Act, the Indian Penal Code. Okay. Why when we pass our own laws, why would we call it Indian Contract Act? Because it was not made by us. It was made for us by the British, right? So this is one such law. And believe me, the legal framework that we are using today, not just the complete legal framework, legislative, executive, and judiciary are a British legacy. The British legacy, we have not been able to make a big dent because we decided to go for one format. See, we had two formats available to us, the British and the American. And I should say Euro-American. We clearly and consciously, possibly by choice or by compulsion, we went for the British format, which is stupid. That is why even now we have somebody called the President of India. I'm not putting the post down. I'm saying the post has no major role. I was invited to speak on a TV program on the Constitution, President of India. So if you really look at the role of the President of India, it's very funny. The President of India is the supreme head of our country. He appoints the IAS officers. All the officers are appointed by him, not by the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister does not sign anywhere. All papers are signed by the President. As you are aware, shares in Indian companies are held by the President or by his appointees, the governors, right, in each state. Having said that, which is because, see, when we adopted the British format, no, we didn't have a king or a queen. So we needed, see, whereas in England, they have a queen. And they had a king, then a queen. Now a king. The point here is we don't have that. So we have created the president. A very, very, shall we say, showcase position. Because the president cannot do anything unless he has to do everything in consultation with the Prime Minister. But finally, the Prime Minister needs the president's assent for any law. Peculiar, hold. Both this fellow is holding his shoulder, that fellow is holding his shoulder. Very peculiar. But usually presidents generally do not, create problems. But if they want to, they can. Constitutionally, they have a lot of rights. Sorry for getting into the Constitution here. Point is, we have inherited a British legacy. Right? That's all I'm trying to say. But having said that, the British have given us great laws. Some of the laws that the British have given us are still there. As I gave you examples, the Indian Penal Code, the Civil Procedure Code, the Criminal Procedure Code, the Indian Evidence Act. You can name about easily 100 enactments which are still vibrantly being implemented. For example, the Indian courts function very much in accordance with the Civil Procedure Code as it was in 1908. No major changes, except possibly in names, etc. Okay, just listen to what I'm saying. Don't ask questions immediately. Immediately don't jump into questions. Listen to what I'm saying. Okay, for a citizen of India. I think you're not listening, Abdul. You are more interested in talking, not in listening. You read the Constitution and see what are the powers of the president. Then you will understand what I'm saying. Okay. Your knowledge should not only come from WhatsApp and Wikipedia in your Google. Okay, if you read the Constitution and understand the powers of the president, you will find that it is only a naam ke vaste position. The president has no major power. Okay, but we still have a president and we respect the president. No intention to disrespect the president, first citizen, blah, blah, whatever you say. Okay, that's what I'm saying. It's a beautiful position. We put it there. We respect that person. We've had great presidents, of course, like Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan or Abdul Kalam. Yes, we had some great presidents in that seat. No doubt about it. Chalo. Having said that, just understand what I'm saying. Don't react to everything. You don't have to react to everything. You don't have to be reactive. You can be absorbing also. As a student, be more absorbing rather than reactive. Okay, you will find that your knowledge improves. Then as you become older and older with more and more knowledge, when you talk, it will become meaningful and people will respect what you say. Okay, in this stage, you learn. Then later on, you can talk, people will respect you. Whatever you say, they will appreciate and all that. I hope that will happen. Okay. So, having said that, this law had a specific purpose. There are many laws which talk in different ways. When there is a confusion, what is the correct method? Or other laws may be silent. So in such a situation, what should I do? This law, Dhyanesh, I'm now answering your question. Just listen carefully. This law answers those questions. That's why it's called General Clauses Act. Clause means provision, section, provision. So I can't put certain common rules in every law. Please understand. I can't put certain common rules in every law. I need not put. Instead, I have put all of these common rules and regulations into one law, which is called the General Clauses Act. So in any law, if you have a doubt, you will come to the General Clauses Act. So in a way, the General Clauses Act is like a subroutine. You are running a main program, which is the main law. There is one word or phrase or statement or procedure. You don't know what to do there. You come and look in the General Clauses Act. You might get help here. And if that is there, you will adopt it. So the General Clauses Act is applicable to all enactments. The rules laid down in the General Clauses Act are applicable to all enactments made in India. Right? So the purpose is you need not include it in every law. So for example, all these points we are going to study, if I include in every law, the law will become lengthy. So to shorten the language of central acts, they say, we will use a certain language in any other law, whatever the meaning we will give here, which is one of the reasons why the institute has asked you to study this. It's a very good idea, because as a chartered accountant, I will show you some contextually how if knowledge of this provisions of this law could be relevant to you in your practicing or tax representation, or if you are heading a tax division and all. Okay. So to shorten the language, to provide as far as possible for uniformity. So when a word is used in a law, it should have the same meaning in all other laws. Unless, be very, very careful, go back to your interpretation lesson. If a particular word is specifically defined in one way in a law, that is the definition for that law. I am repeating, if a particular word is specifically defined in one way in a particular law, that is the definition for that law. But if a word is not defined and it is defined here in the General Classes Act, then this definition will apply. So that way, this law is a supreme law. Any other law, if a word is not defined, but it is defined here. Now we are going to see definitions. Huge definitions we are going to see. If it is defined here, then that is the definition. Similarly, give some rules, like for example, how to count dates, how to count days, all that. See, simple calculations and all legally. When a date means what, day means what, month. We already saw a week is different from day, month. So if you said, see, yesterday Abdul created that issue, that he said, sir, here it says 2 months, there it says 2 weeks, there it says 15 days, 14 days, like that. Yeah. Wherever they use the word month, what do they mean? If they use the word week, what do they mean? They use the word year, what do they mean? So this is defined here. Like many things. And it is not a cohesive law. It has no, the purpose is to put everything together in one place. General provisions put together in one place. That's it. That is all. To state explicitly certain convenient rules for the construction and interpretation of central acts. So where you find that there are some doubts, you say, hey, whenever we say this, this is what we mean. That's all. For example, wherever we use the plural includes singular. Male includes female. When I say he includes she. All this is given here in this law. Similarly, if there are any oversights, okay, while at the time of drafting, the draftsman has made a mistake, then you can say, these are the common form clauses. We'll come to those clauses. So for example, service of notice. Even if you are not provided or wrongly provided, if there is an ambiguity there, this law will prevail. So whenever in any central act, this does not apply to state laws, only to acts passed by the Parliament of India. Whenever in any central act, you have an ambiguity, doubt, that meaning is not clear for a word, you will refer to the General Classes Act. If that word is defined or that rule is provided here, that will apply. So this is a reference enactment. It doesn't have, in the real sense, it has no purpose. Meaning, for example, the purpose of the Foreign Exchange Management Act is to conserve foreign exchange and to promote the market for foreign exchange. Preamble says, Competition Act, to control competition, to prevent anti-competitive activities. See, these are all purposes for laws. This law has no purpose that way. It's available. It's like a dictionary. What is the purpose of a dictionary? Whenever you want, you refer to it. That's all. So this is like a dictionary, sort of rule book. When you want, you refer to it. That's all. Okay. So the idea is to place in one single statute different provisions as regards interpretation of words, legal principles, which would otherwise have to be specified separately. So we put everything in one place. It's a brilliant idea of the British, and this is a very, very nice enactment. Of course, a little boring. I am skipping a lot. In fact, in my own slide, I am not taking up certain sections. And I would humbly suggest don't waste your time reading the entire thing fully from top to bottom. Whatever I am teaching now, try to understand and remember more than enough from the exam point of view. So this law is applicable to all acts of the Indian Parliament. Okay, along with the rules and regulations made under the Central Act. Acts of Indian Parliament along with the rules and regulations made under the Central Act. So any Central Act, if there is a doubt, you can apply this law. Okay. Acts of the Dominion Legislature passed between 15th August 1947 and 26th January, before our Constitution came. See, between the time when we got independence on 15th August 1947 and our Constitution was finally approved 26th January 1950, which is why we called it that the Republic Day. In fact, so happens I was born on the 26th of January 1966, right? So now the point is 26th January is an important date, but not because it's my birthday, but because it is Republic Day. Okay, you might wonder why we celebrate a Republic Day and an Independence Day, right? So midnight we got the independence, and and the dawn has never come. So Nehru said, we are receiving our independence in the midnight. So it came in the night. Therefore, we are still in the darkness. Okay. So, acts of the Dominion legislature. So don't worry about that and all. It's all over and done with. Today we have, don't worry, it's just for knowledge. Today we have a constitution. All laws made in India, including the earlier laws, acts passed before the commencement of the constitution by the Governor General Council, etc., etc. They will all become part of the legal framework, which is why, see, the Indian Contract Act was not passed by our parliament under our constitution. We adopted it. The Negotiable Instruments Act, which you will be seeing later, not passed by our parliament. We adopted it. When we became a constitutional democracy, we decided, hey, why would I reinvent the wheel? Already these white men have passed all these beautiful laws. Let me adopt it and we'll make it part of our legal framework. And we did it. And rightly so. Rightly so. Don't confuse patriotism with foolishness. When something good is there, we will take it. Nothing wrong. Just because it was passed by Britishers doesn't mean it is wrong. There are a lot of good things that they did, right? Don't see, I am no less patriotic than any of you, but don't misinterpret patriotism to jingoism. Simply saying foreigners bad, don't adopt, okay, make Indian currency acceptable in so many countries without understanding the monetary consequences and, shall we say, long-term consequences of the decisions. Jingoism, that is where we think Indian currency is the best currency. We will become the dominant currency like that. If you try to, nothing wrong in that. That is, see, patriotism is one thing, common sense is another. Okay, don't lose your common sense ever. My views, not the views of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Yeah. 1 second, I'll just. Madam, நான் ஆன்லைன் கிளாஸ்ல இருக்கேன், நாளைக்கு வந்துருவேன். சொல்லுங்கம்மா, நான் ஆன்லைன் கிளாஸ்ல இருக்கேன், பேச முடியல. இன்னைக்கு இல்லம்மா, நாளைக்கு மத்தியானம். இல்லம்மா, நான் வேண்டாம்னு சொன்னேன், நீங்க கேன்சல் பண்ணீங்க. நான் அன்னைக்கே சொல்லிட்டேன் உங்களுக்கு. 1 second, Prince. மேடம், இன்னைக்கு மார்னிங் கிடையாது, நாளைக்கு மத்தியானம் தான். இல்ல மேடம், நான் அன்னைக்கே சொன்ன வேண்டாம், நீங்க கேன்சல் பண்ணீங்கன்னு சொல்றீங்க. நான் ஒண்ணு தான் எடுத்துனேன், மத்தியானம் மட்டும் தான் எடுத்துனேன். இல்லம்மா, கிளியரா பேசணுமா? நான் இல்லைன்னா நான் வந்துட்டு போயிட மாட்டேன். இப்ப நான் ஆன்லைன் நம்ம இந்த கிளாஸ்ல இருக்கேன் இல்லையா, லைவ் கோச்சிங் கிளாஸ்ல இருக்கேன். சாரி மேடம், நிஜமாவே இட்ஸ் மிஸ் அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்டிங். நான் கிளியரா சொன்னேன், நான் வர முடியாதுன்னு. இல்லையம்மா, நான் பாக்கலையம்மா, பட் நான் டெஃபினட்டா நான் இல்லைன்னு சொன்னேம்மா. இப்ப இனிமே என்னால இப்ப வர முடியாது. அன்னைக்கு எனக்கு 10 மணிக்கு எனக்கு இன்னொரு இது வந்து நான் கேன்சல் பண்ணேன் உங்களுக்கு போன் பண்ணி. நீங்களும் சரின்னு சொன்னீங்க மேடம், மறந்துட்டீங்கன்னு நினைக்கிறேன். I'm so sorry. Because of some other commitment, I had cancelled my GMCS class at the institute. Now they think I am supposed to take it. Sorry about that. That should never have happened, but this is an emergency for that lady at the SARC. Okay. Now, coming back to the point, this is theory. Now, unless the context otherwise requires, the General Clauses Act 1897 shall, subject to any adaptations and modifications that may be made therein, under Article 372, apply for the interpretation of the Constitution as it applies for the interpretation of an act, okay, of the legislature of the Dominion of India. So even the Constitution will be subject to this law. If you find any confusion in the Constitution, you can use the General Clauses Act. Okay. Of course, the Constitution itself has interpretation section which can provide. But if the Constitution has any confusion or ambiguity, you can use the General Clauses Act. The Act does not contain any indication as to territorial extent. For example, wherever a central law is applicable, this is applicable. Right? Also, today, we have made Kashmir a part of, that the laws of India are now extended to Kashmir also. Okay. So they have lost their special status and now they have to adopt our laws. Earlier, they had their own laws applicable only to Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir. Now they have to adopt our laws. So General Process Act also goes there automatically. Automatically. Okay. So there's a preliminary part, which is section 1, which is the introductory part. Generally, short title, you know that. Commencement application. Okay. So that is over. Section 1, I have given you a brief introduction. You know what it is. Now we come to the important part, interesting part, I would say. Section 3 gives the definitions. Section 3, usually section 2, here definitions. See, these definitions are extremely important. Why? Because these definitions are not for this law. This law has nothing. It has no enacting parts. It doesn't lay down any rules of conduct or compliance. But these definitions, which we are now going to see, are applicable to all central acts. If a word is not defined there, and if it is defined here, this definition shall be taken. Now the word, we started definitions. First word, act. We have been using this word regularly. When I said act earlier, I meant act of parliament. Any law, statute. Okay? Anything passed in parliament, a law passed in parliament, blah, blah. But here they have given a different word for act. Here the word act. Unfortunately, English being a complex law, the same word, complex language, the same word can have different meanings. So here, act used with reference to an offense or a civil wrong shall include a series of acts and words which refer to acts done and will also extend to illegal omissions. So when you say an act, it is not one single act. When you're talking about an offense or a civil wrong, when you're saying act, it will include a series of acts and words, including illegal omissions. See, act is a positive term. When I do something, I act. But if I don't do also, it is an act of omission. That is also included here. An act required to be done cannot necessarily mean a positive act. May also include acts one is precluded from doing from decree. When you are not supposed to do something and you do it, that is also included in that act. So any act here means anything done, any word spoken. See, this definition is based on sections 32 and 33 of the Indian Penal Code, which applies to civil wrongs as well as crimes. Act includes illegal omissions as well, but it does not include an omission which is not illegal, that is negligence. But see, when you're trying to punish somebody for an act, okay, then that act includes a series of acts, not just one act. For example, if somebody is committing a crime, that crime alone is not an act. Before that, he would have done something in order to commit that crime. That complete series of acts would become a crime. So when you are addressing an offense or civil wrong, see, they are trying to extend this meaning from crimes to civil wrong. That is, shall we say, when you cause damage to another person's property or cause some loss to anybody, that is a civil wrong. Okay. Offense is when you disobey the law. Offense is disobey the law. There is a law which you are supposed to follow. You have not followed. You have committed an offense. Okay. Central Act of Parliament. Some of the older laws are also included here. The Act of the Dominion Legislature, which was there only between the two periods, 15th August 1947 to 26 January 50. After that, Constitution came. Once the Constitution came, the older laws were adopted. An act made before such commencement by the Governor General, before the Constitution, by the Governor General acting in legislative capacity. Okay, so these two are included. Affidavit. So an affidavit is a legal term. I'm very happy that we are doing this because these are terms that you might use in your practice which if you don't know the meaning, you'll still use it without knowing what you're talking about. An affidavit is an instrument. First of all, get that. An affidavit is an instrument. It is a sworn statement. It is a statement made under oath. It is an affirmation. So, you want to state certain facts and you want to submit it as evidence in a court of law. You can do so by signing an affidavit. So, for example, certain facts you want to state. Okay, and you want it to be, you want it to be part and parcel of your legal proceeding. So you can say, you can put it in the form of an affidavit. It will be like a normal, it will be on, affidavit will be on 100 rupees stamp paper. Affidavit will be on 20 rupees stamp paper in Tamil Nadu. I don't know what it is in Maharashtra. 20 rupees stamp paper, affidavit, where you are going to state facts. You will say, I so-and-so, son of so-and-so, daughter of so-and-so, whatever, do hereby solemnly affirm and swear that, or solemnly affirm and swear the following statements to be true to the best of my knowledge and belief. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then finally, I hereby swear and state or affirm and state that the statements made above are true to the best of my knowledge and belief. Sign. Witness, maybe notarize it. You can now submit it as evidence in a court of law. Whether it will be have given effect or not. See, other evidence can be held to disprove this by and large. I'll tell you where affidavits are very useful. Where there is no controversy. Where you see, for example, you are going to a court and saying, my birth certificate is lost. I want to be court order that this is my date of birth. So you can do that. That's a standard procedure. First thing you have to do is, along with the application, you have to give an affidavit. Because there is no proof, there is no evidence, nothing. You are stating it. Okay, chalo, state it. Nobody is objecting to it. Go ahead. And then you will come before the court and solemnly swear. And the court will say, okay, this is your date of birth. Order will be passed. In those cases, an affidavit becomes very important. Problem is, certain religions, do not permit swearing. For example, a Roman Catholic cannot swear. That will be, for a Christian, true Christian, taking the name of God in vain is a sin. Many Christians have even corrected me, when I used to say, oh my God. Said, Shrikant, don't say, oh my God, because don't take the name of God in vain. Like that, they will tell me. So, that is the belief. So, that is why here they say, affidavit shall include affirmation and declaration in the case of persons by law allowed to affirm or declare instead of swearing. So, in those days, the British were very sensitive about religion. They said, if your religion says don't do it, don't do it. So, they said, if you cannot swear, then you affirm or declare. So, Christian will not say swear, they will say affirm or declare. So, these small issues. Swearing is sort of, I swear and I say on God and all. They may not want to do it. Nothing wrong. But still, it's solemn. I solemnly affirm and declare, or solemnly affirm and confirm, whatever. Okay. There are two important points derived from the above definition: affirmation and declaration. In case of persons allowed affirming or declaring instead of swearing. It's inclusive in nature. See, normally we will put swear. But if a gentleman or lady says, no, I cannot swear, then you can put affirm or declare. So an affidavit is a written statement confirmed by oath or affirmation for use as evidence in court or before any authority. Even a company name, suppose you have lost your certificate, the share certificate. Now you want a duplicate certificate. So the company secretary will tell, look here, you say you are lost it now. Put it in a form of an affidavit, get it notarized and bring it. So again, the same format, you will say, I am the owner of so many number of shares in so-and-so certificate, in registered number so-and-so. These certificates were kept in my house in a bureau. During the 2015 flood or during the floods in Kerala, my entire house property, all my property was washed away, including these certificates. Therefore, so whatever. See, these are facts. Fact, there was a flood in Kerala, date should be given. Your house was washed away. Certificate also washed away. All that is a fact. Statement of fact. Affidavit is a statement of fact confirmed by an oath. See, if your religion prevents you from making an oath, then you don't say oath, you affirm. You use an affirmation. That's all. See, all this became relevant because in those days there was confusion. So they said, hey, this is what it is all about, like that. Today, this may not be a big deal. Today, in today's legal structure, this may not be a big deal. What is the difference between affidavit and mere declaration? Affidavit is on a stamp paper. It is a sworn statement or an affirmed statement given solemnly. It will be witnessed. An affidavit will be signed and witnessed. Okay, whereas a declaration is simply on a piece of paper. So, do not use the word declaration when you want to talk about a sworn statement. Okay. So, declaration is just you are stating. Okay. Whereas affidavit is you are confirming under oath or affirmation that what you are stating is the truth. Slight difference. Declaration, in case you are told small lie, you can ignore it. But in affidavit, if you are told a lie, it will amount to perjury. It will amount to, it's a legal offense, criminal offense. See, tomorrow you give a wrong statement in an affidavit, untrue statement. Please be careful. See, you might make errors, minor errors. Chalo. But if you have made an untrue statement in an affidavit and you have sworn and you have signed it and witnessed and all, and tomorrow it is discovered that what you stated in the affidavit was false, then you are in for trouble. So, whereas in a declaration, you can always then you take it back and give it or correct it. Not possible in an affidavit. It becomes an evidence and it could become an evidence against you later. So, be careful while signing an affidavit. I think Tamil Nadu it is 100. I'm not clear. I think in those days I used to sign it on 20 rupees. I'll tell you one more example of affidavit. You are incorporating a company, right? At that time, the people who are engaged in the formation of the company, if you remember, they have to give a declaration that all the procedures required to be complied with have been complied with. That is an affidavit. In those days, I used to do it on 20 rupees stamp paper. Even now, it has to be stamped, signed, notarized, witnessed, and if necessary, notarized. Okay. See, you might ask me, what is notarizing? Simple. There is an advocate who is appointed by the court. These guys are called notaries. They are available. So you take any document to him and sign it in front of him. The document is signed before the notary public. Then witnessed, of course. There will be witness also. Then the notary public will affix a seal and sign. Once the notary public signs it, that document cannot be questioned for forgery. You have signed in front of a notary public. 2 witnesses have happened. Tomorrow in the court, you cannot come and say, no, that is not my signature. It has been forged. Once I notarize it, you cannot question the signature after that. That is why notary is very important. Whenever I am having documents signed by people whom I do not trust, I get it notarized. I tell him, boss, I'm going to get this notarized. Tomorrow, this document will be produced in court. Be careful. You cannot question your signature. Okay, so signature you cannot say this is not your signature. That's all. You question content, you question facts, you bring lead evidence. That is different. But you cannot say, I didn't sign this. You cannot say. That is the example of. Anyway, good. For many of you are coming out with. So it's either 20 or 100. What do you say? So my solution to my client is, boss, if you are having doubt, go for a higher value. Who can punish you? And for 80 rupees, you are not starving. Yeah, like that I will say. 20, you mean to say, if you put 100, you will go die of starvation, is it? You are not having income for that level, is it? Like that? So, no, sorry, sir, like that they will go. So, what is this? 100 rupees you put. 20 rupees, 100 rupees you put. Nobody can question you for putting a higher stamp paper. Only if you put lesser, you are in trouble. So, in case of doubt, put the higher valuation. Yeah, what is that? 20, 100, what is a big deal? Okay. See, many people have this habit of nitpicking. Nitpicking means small issues making big fuss. See, your life will become a boring series of nitpicking. Okay. Whereas I believe, these are all details that somebody can work out for me. 100 or 20. Call the bloody liar, ask him, hey, what is it, 100 or 20? Sir, 20 is matter over. That's all. When an answer can be given by somebody, don't waste your time remembering it. These are all my views. 57 years I have lived that way. not wasting my time on details, rather thinking about the broader solutions, bigger things. Knowledge is different from details. Details can always be acquired whenever you want. Institute is also understanding this. So no longer it's a mug up and vomit examination. It is an understanding and analyzing examination. So understanding is more important. So I'm sorry, I'm keeping on giving you, advice like this. I feel bad, but then you should understand. See, because I've met a lot of members of our institute who are not able to go beyond a small circle. They keep on talking within that circle. They don't see the bigger picture beyond that circle. I told you, I think I showed you, they take a new paper and they make a small funnel and look at the whole world only through that funnel. I think you have to go beyond that and look at the broader picture. Once you do that, if you are knowledgeable enough, you have the ability to go to the bigger picture, come to the detail. Ensure, when I do something, complete detailing would be done. Except that I will not break my head on the detailing. See, I am a chartered accountant. At my level, I should not waste my time on detailing. For that, I hire some donkey. That donkey does it. And that donkey should know all the details. I will ensure that I put the right donkey there. That's all. And have a final look at it to see that everything is pakka. If this skill you develop now, you will grow higher in the hierarchy. If the skill you don't develop now, you will be continuously at the lower end only, worrying about the details. Somebody will use you for worrying about. They know that because this fellow will always see the details. So let's give this donkey job to him. They'll give it to you. So be careful. That's all I am trying to say. You will find even within articles, one article will be doing extremely well. Third year, he will be handling audits, he will be finalizing, reporting to partner. Another article clerk will still be doing vouching thing under this fellow. How that happens? Because this fellow is worried only about details. He doesn't want to look at the bigger picture of the audit. So that guy is willing to look at the bigger picture of the audit. This is something you need to understand. Otherwise, you will become... And this fellow, the guy who's reporting to the partner, he will keep on giving answers. Whereas this guy, the other guy will only ask questions. How to do, what to do. Sir, this is like that is like this, how to do. Continuously questions. So somebody will be there to give him answers and make him do the job. Okay, oath. Oath shall include affirmation and declaration in the case of persons by law. See, for example, suppose there is a raid or a search. At the end of the search, there will be a state, because during the search, they will come across many things. Finally, what they'll do, they'll make the owner of the business or the director or whoever it is sit and talk about, they'll ask him, we have discovered these documents in your office premises. According to these documents, it discloses certain facts that are showing like this. Do you confirm or not? Now he has to give an answer. Can you explain these documents? All these answers he will be giving under oath. Before they start the questions, they will administer what is known as the oath. Means they will ask him to state, I so-and-so hereby affirm and state, or swear and state that what I am now giving is the truth, nothing but the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So, and then they will also warn him, you are now going to make statements under oath. When I'm just asking you a question and you give a reply, it's not a problem. But I'm now asking you under oath. Under oath, if you tell a lie, it is a criminal offense of perjury. Okay, no, I am not allowed to swear. So no problem, don't swear. You affirm. I hereby affirm and declare. Whatever you say from now on should be the truth. If you are telling a lie and later on we discover that it is a lie, in addition to the consequences, you will also be criminally liable for making false declaration. Right. So, my intention was not to put down all chartered accountants, but see, at 57, I have met more than 3,000 chartered accountants across the country. I'm finding it, sometimes I find it very, very sad when our own members, are not able to go beyond one level. They only think at one level. I think you all should take up this and at least grow. Just a suggestion. Knowledge is different. Alokji, knowledge is different. You have knowledge, I have knowledge. Everybody has knowledge. Knowledge is different. Knowledgeable people also I have seen getting into trouble. not knowing how to go proceed like that. Whereas a guy who does not have knowledge within your definition, he will be doing extremely well. Surprisingly, that is one unfortunate mismatch in our, not only in CA, everywhere, advocates, doctors, everywhere, professionals, I would say, and managers. Knowledge is one thing, performance and execution is another. Knowledge with performance, wow, that will be great. Man has knowledge and also he executes and performs. It's only when, with all this knowledge, there are many people who are members of all the three institutes, triplet, but he will not be able to take one decision, unable to handle one department. Because he's so egoistic, he thinks he knows everything. He doesn't listen to other people. He's not willing to take inputs and he's not able to take a decision because he knows so much, he complicates. Whereas little knowledge is good. That is, I know what to do, proceed, delegate, execute. This is a broader picture, nothing to do with General Classes Act. Think about it is all I'm telling. This is based on my experience, not only in profession, but as a trainer, as a corporate trainer. I strongly suggest you should learn this. I know you're too young to even understand what I'm telling. Keep it in mind. One signal is people who confuse themselves. Okay, clarity of thought is first sign of a performer. Swear with its grammatical variations and cognate expressions shall include affirming and declaring. Again and again, they are saying, if you cannot swear, don't. Affirm and confirm, that's all. Government. See, the word government is a very, very important word. Normally, the section will clearly state central government or state government. Normally. Rarely you will find a law not mentioning central or state. If it says central government, state government, we have no problem. But if the word sirf government is used, then it will include both central and state government. Okay, so the word government. So then how to construe it? Which government? You must do it according to the context. See, generally in state legislature, the word government is used, then it is the state. Central law, the word government is used, it is a central. We already know, government is not a single entity. Government includes legislature, executive, and judiciary. But in a narrow sense, it is used to connote the executive only. I go back. So many sections in the Companies Act, we saw the word central government. Approval by central government. Application to central government. In all those cases, that central government word always meant the executive. Executive means immediately you should talk about a ministry. See, the executive functions of the government of India are under the control of various ministries. So the parliament, ministers, each minister has a ministry. That ministry has a secretary. Under him, there are many under-secretary, deputy secretary, additional secretary, so on and so forth, right down to the chaprasi. Everybody is that is the governmental mechanism in all its power. Okay, that is the executive. So whenever we say government, we mean the executive. Okay, and wherever income tax department, okay, comes under the Ministry of Finance, with the Minister of Finance, Madam, and the Secretary, Finance Secretary. Then who is the IAS officer, top ranking IAS officer? Below him, you will have under secretary, deputy secretary, assistant secretary, secretary, all sorts of fellows will be there. Whole battalion of them will be there, doing various things. All of them are central government. So when the word central government is used, you should immediately ask, sir, you mean which authority? So that is why many times I would have said, in this section, when we use the word central government, we mean the regional director. Are you able to understand? See, though here in this context, he is called regional director, he may be a deputy secretary in the central government hierarchy. He can be transferred to some other ministry also. In fact, there he'll go. His rank will be deputy secretary, but he will be called something else there. So that rank is different. The administrative services, they have ranks, promotions, etc. So that is different. That is the broader hierarchy. This mechanism of executive, administrative services, was set up by the British. That is why it's called the Indian Administrative Service. We don't call it the Federal Administrative Service or the Central Administrative Service. We call it the Indian Administrative Service. Why Indian? why we are Indian only? Why is it Indian? Because it is formed by the British for the purpose of India. Indian Administrative Service. Okay. IAS officers are there. They usually control that. Of course, once they come to the Finance Ministry, Income Tax Department, they're called IRS, Indian Revenue Service. If they go into the Auditor General's office, they're called IA and AS, Indian Accounting and Auditing Services. Okay. Like that, there are separate Indian Postal Services is there, so on and so forth. It depends on the rank in the IAS exam they will get. Now, the point is, whenever we use the word government, we mean both central and state. Whenever we use the word central government, remember we are talking about the executive. Okay. So, you can see whether it is a regional director or whether it is a ministry, you can find out only by referring to the appropriate circular. There are circulars clearly saying for this section, for this power, the power is with so and so. So, delegation of power is there. Delegation of power. And so, that delegation of power circular is available, public document, you can go take it, so you will know. Okay. Wherever necessary, I have told you, this is a regional director like that. Okay, so now I'm going to skip one big part because, see, this is a very, very archaic part. See, in those days, today you don't have it. In those days, General Clause Act has not been amended. You had party estates, which were former governors' provinces of the British India. For example, the 9 party estates were Assam, Bihar, Bombay, Madhya Pradesh, Madras, Orissa, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, and West Bengal. These were actually, of this, okay, of this, the central provinces, Madras, Bombay, Madras, and West Bengal, Calcutta, were presidencies. We were presidencies because, so they were coming directly under a governor. Okay. Once we got into constitution, we could not take it out. Then you have the Part B states, which were ruled by kings. Hyderabad, Jammu and Kashmir, Madhya Bharat, Mysore, Patiala, okay, East Punjab, Rajasthan, Saurashtra. Do you see, notice one more thing? All these names were also names of subsidiaries of the State Bank of India. See, the State Bank of India had about 6 subsidiaries, if I remember right. State Bank of Hyderabad, State Bank of Mysore, State Bank of Patiala, State Bank of Travancore. I remember, and two more were there. I forget them, but it's okay. You can supply the information if you want. But the point is, these were subsidiaries. You know how they became subsidiaries of State Bank of India? Because before independence, the British had their own bank. Okay, in the 3 presidencies, which was called the Imperial Bank. Imperial Bank. Now, in some of these princely states like Mysore, Patiala, Saurashtra, Travancore, and Hyderabad, you had their own banks. These kings, princely states, they could print their own, they could make their own coins and all. They were given this power. So these banks were subsidiary banks. In those days, they were separate banks run by these gentlemen, these princely states. Later on, when independence came, they were all annexed. And then the Imperial Bank became the State Bank of India. The Imperial Bank became the State Bank of India. That way, State Bank of India has 200-year-old buildings and all. Because it's older than independence. It was not formed after independence. The original Imperial Bank became the State Bank of India. And the State Bank of India, these princely states, those banks got converted and they became the State Bank, the subsidiaries. Later on, when Madam Indira Gandhi came, she nationalized the banks. Then the State Bank of India became nationalized and these banks also became subsidiaries of the nationalized bank. Today, they have been folded into the State Bank of India. You won't find any of these subsidiaries. Yeah, State Bank of Mysore and Maharashtra. Correct. There is there. Maharashtra. I don't know about the State Bank of Maharashtra, but yeah, could be. State Bank of Mysore is. It's already there. So Mysore, Jammu and Kashmir is a separate bank. Jammu, it's not part of this group. State Bank of Hyderabad, State Bank of Mysore, State Bank of Patiala, Saurashtra was there, Travancore, and as maybe Maharashtra. A little bit of history, but all this is not relevant today, right? Okay, so that's Parsi states were Ajmer, Bhopal, Bilaspur, all that gone. So later on, some of them became union territories. Now they are all pakka part and parcel of the Indian government. Okay. The Andaman and Nicobar Islands alone were administered by the Lieutenant Governor from Kolkata. Okay. Now, beautiful. Now, all this was relevant, say about 50 years ago. Today, not relevant. Simply it's there, I'm teaching, that's all. I thought I will use this opportunity to share this type of information with you, which could be useful to you. Commencement, used with reference to an act. Any act or regulation shall mean the day on which the act or regulation comes into force. See, coming into force or entry into force refers to the process by which the legislation, regulation, treaty come to have legal force and effect. A law cannot be said to be in force unless it is brought into operation by legislative enactment or by the exercise of authority by a delegate empowered to bring it into operation. So, in India, how does it happen? Now, law is passed in Parliament, approved by both the houses, assent of President. It does not come into force. Commencement happens when it is notified. Notification in the official gazette, it does not come into force. In the notification, you will very clearly state, the central government or state government will state, this law shall come into effect from one date. That is the date of commencement. They might sometimes say, this law will come into effect from the date mentioned by the central government, which means at that point in time, the law has not come into force. We are aware that it is there, that's all. Later on, a separate notification will be given by which they will say, this notification or this law which was notified on such and such a day is now coming into force or will come into force from the 149/2023, like that. In fact, the Companies Act was enacted in 2013, but by the time all the sections were put into force, I think it was late 2014, so that all company secretaries will have so much fun. They will say this section has come into force, that section has not come into force. Kept on. Some sections are applicable. Then to the extent that this section has not come into force, you will refer to the old law. Lot of confusion for 13 to 14. And then the sections were stupid. 185 was one of the first drafted section. They knew it. They amended it once. And that too, they tried to do it through notification, rules, all sorts of donkey things they did. Finally, they amended 185. Now what you see is the amended 185, which is definitely better than what it was when it was originally passed. Okay. So each time they did it now, even if you amend one word in a law, that amendment should again be published in official, approved into both the houses, published in Parliament, and published in official gazette, notification. And in that notification, you should say when that word will come into effect. For example, in many of these penal provisions, they removed the imprisonment. That came into effect only in 21, though it was enacted in 20 itself. Okay. So, for that, what you should do? Nothing. Whenever you have a doubt, go to Google or go to legal websites. Clearly, they will mention circulars will be there. Download the circular, read it. So, this is the research. Okay. One more thing. Remembering all that is stupid. Don't even try that. If you have a doubt, you go there. Everything is available now in Taxman or in you must be having a lot of other sites. Don't educate me. Okay. Whatever you want to use, you use. Okay. Every information that you ever want is available. When to go and use it, that is the whole thing. Possessing all this knowledge in your head may not be a great idea. Okay. Knowing where to go and getting it and understanding it, analyzing it, and providing a solution. This is the thing. Which is why you should have a broad knowledge of all the laws. And whenever needed, you will have to drill down and learn and come out. This is something I keep on stressing to my students, but whether they take it in the heart, I don't know, because that has been my approach from day one. Knowledge is not, why hold it? And no great, see, I'll tell you, no great premium for possession of knowledge, sir. I repeat, sir, no great premium for possession of knowledge, sir. Application of knowledge, premium, sir. Solution providing, ultimate premium, sir. Check out where you are in this continuum. Are you merely a knowledgeable chartered accountant having all knowledge, a repository of income tax knowledge? Everybody comes to you and you become an encyclopedia. Great. Are you capable of applying that knowledge in practical situations? More importantly, after applying it, are you giving solutions to your clients so that they can run their businesses profitably, make more money, and comply with the law also? This is, I think, third level of behavior. It's up to you to go to knowledge. How come that ass, Srikanth, who knows nothing, is able to go there and become popular? How is it happening? You get worried, you get angry. Srikanth knows nothing. He's a known fool. He himself says he has no knowledge, but he is able to do it. How? Because possession, no. Access, yes. When to go, where to go, how to go, get everything together, put it together, format it, and give a solution. This is the premium. I know I'm being a little wasting your time, but I thought it's important from a senior I'm completing 35 years of my practice. In 2022, I completed 35 years of practice as a chartered accountant. For your information. Document shall include, we already saw the word document. Do you remember this definition? We saw it in interpretation of statutes. I'm not going to waste your time on this. We saw this definition, right? And the Transfer of Property Act definition. Okay, document. And I hope I showed you how even at that time, the lawmakers, in the British lawmakers, had the foresight to talk. They didn't use the word paper. They used the word substance. They didn't say on paper. They said substance. Any matter written, expressed, or described upon any substance by means of letters, figures, or marks. Sir, there are many, in temples in South India, on the walls of the temple, we have legal documents. Yes, conferring of lands. Okay, withdrawal of this conferring. Kings, when they did at that time in India, they don't have paper. In China, in Egypt, they had papyrus. Okay, so it went to Europe, and China, they had paper. But in India, we didn't have paper, and we also knew that paper will be destroyed. So we wrote on rock. We inscribed on rock. And many of these inscriptions are very much there. In the Madurai temple, you will see 35 villages were given. And that is, the record is very much there of that. Okay. So, will that be a document? Any matter written, expressed, or described upon any substance. Yes, rock is a substance. By means of letters, figures, or marks. Yes, it is written what is known as Vattaizhuthu. It's not written in the Tamil that we now use, the Lipi that we now use. It's a slightly older Lipi that they have. But that's again a letter and mark. Okay. And which is intended to be used, or which may be used for the purpose of recording that matter. For the purpose of recording that matter. Wow. This definition is so wide that it includes a rock inscription, and that could have legal value. Okay. You could use it as a evidence in a court of law because it's a document. So the minute you say document, you think it's paper, not necessarily. Okay. But it should be on a substance by means of letters, figures, or marks. Of course, storing it in a computer document. Okay. Chalo. Book, file, painting, I said na inscription on a rock, and even computer files are all documents. But it does not include Indian currency notes, which means if you write Priya loves Ramesh on a currency note, that currency note will be declared to be invalid. Today, the law is very clear. You cannot deface the currency. Please do not write Priya loves Ramesh. Currency note, they will write. I don't know why they use the currency for this purpose. And then it starts circulating. Anyway, so now you can't do that. It will be invalid. All those notes will be pulled back. Official gazette or gazette. You have heard of this now. See, this is the official publication of the central and state government. Central government has the Gazette of India and the state government has the official Gazette. See, when you file something with the Registrar of Companies, it becomes public document. Friends, go back to the legal principle. The minute I make something a public document, okay, since you are maybe getting bored, I'm going to ask a question here. Once I make something a public document, what happens? Which doctrine will become applicable? Once I make something a public document by filing it with the Register of Companies, which doctrine will apply? Quick quiz to wake you up from your sleep, because I know very boring topic. Which doctrine will apply? Yes, PhD, correct. Let's see if one or two more people also join and give answers. The doctrine of constructive notice, meaning a person, a third party cannot say, I am not aware, because he is deemed to know. He is deemed to know about it. Deemed knowledge. Constructive means deemed. Notice means knowledge. Constructive notice means deemed knowledge. Even if you have not read it, Baba, you are deemed to have read it. You cannot come and now tell me, yeah, I don't know, blah, blah. No. Similarly, beautiful. Everybody. Wow. Yanesh, Abdul, Alok. Wow, great. Yes. Doctrine of constructive. Same principle will apply here. Anything is published in the official gazette, it becomes public notice. It becomes constructive notice. That is why the government, whenever they pass a law, they will publish it in the official gazette. Once they publish it in the official gazette, a citizen of the country cannot say, you didn't inform me. Why should I inform you? I published it in the official gazette. You as a citizen should read the official gazette regularly or the state gazette regularly. But imagine, my dear friends, can we keep doing this? I just go and check up the official gazette. See, it's so huge. It will be published once in every 15 days. Everything it will be so thick. You will go mad if you go through it. Okay. So, sorry. But then the principle is the same. You should publish in the Gazette of India, the official gazette. Not only that, many public notices will also be published in the Gazette of India or the official gazette. For example, we had one gentleman in our office in those days. His name was Kuppusamy. Okay? Kuppusamy, not a bad name. In Tamil Nadu, we have such a name. Kuppusamy is a good name. The name is given as a prayer to the god. Okay, when the child is very sick in the early stages, at the time of birth, the mother will pray and say, I will call him as garbage, garbage. Because then, see, once I say I don't want, now God will, some belief of that lady, that like I will throw him in the kupa, means that Kuppusamy. Then that fellow will become all right. He becomes all right. So his mother calls him Kuppusamy. What to do? Fellow is Kuppusamy, we call him. What to do? The fellow gets upset. My father himself, that article, like, hey, the Kuppu, like that Kuppu. So this fellow got very angry. He said, I want to change my name. So he changed his name to Anand. Okay, he was a senior article in our office. When I was doing my articleship, he was a senior article. Like, he was a good fellow. But people used to make fun of like that. So that fellow used to get angry. And he felt that, by changing his name, he can change his life. So good belief system. So I said, oh, good job. So he went to them. The process is like this. You have to go to court, swear an affidavit, state that you are now changed your name from Kuppusamy to Anand. Then you have to go to the official gazette, publish it in the official gazette. Nobody should object. Then your name will be officially changed. And that official gazette publication and the court order, you will keep it safely. So that from that day onwards, your name is Anand, not Kuppusamy. So such procedures are there. For that, official gazette will be used. Okay. Official gazette will be used and published in the official gazette. Similarly, many things can be published in the official gazette. Where you want something to become public knowledge so that tomorrow nobody can deny, you will publish it in the official gazette. Okay. The government also will publish. Now the point is, you and I cannot keep on looking at the official gazette. Lawyers do it. In the law officers, the law clerks, they keep on going through official gazette. For example, I am a brand owner. I want to, but that's of course, that's not the official gazette. There is a separate register called the trademarks registry. But similarly, that also public information. Once you publish a brand in the trademarks registry, it becomes a public knowledge. If anybody wants to object, they should object. If they don't, gone. So like that, there are many things. Official Gazette is one. So the lawyers will keep looking at Official Gazette, the law office. And whenever there's something important, that fellow will tag it and take it and put it in his boss. He'll go through it, then action will be taken. So lawyers keep doing it. Okay. So the Gazette of India is a public journal and an authorized legal document published weekly by the Department of Publication, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. I don't know why Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Chalo. As a public journal, the Gazette prints official notices from the government. It is authentic in content, accurate and strictly in accordance with government policies. You can also give in the Official Gazette. You should ensure that it reaches before publication. Otherwise, it will go next week. So, for your information. I think this very interesting topic, right? You are learning a lot about general laws and procedures. As a chartered accountant, you might not use it regularly, but suddenly when something comes up, you will know what it is. So that way, this law is interesting law. Enactment shall include a regulation, and any regulation of Bengal, Madras, Bombay Code, and also include any provision contained in any act or in any such regulation. See, we use the word enactment here. If you remember right, it will apply to all enactments. Okay, it will apply to all enactments. Okay. Every enactment it will apply. Okay, so here they say what is enactment. Enactment includes regulation, and any regulation of Bengal, Madras and Bombay Code. These were the old presidencies, and shall include any provision contained in any act or in any such regulation. It has been held that an enactment would include any act made by the Union Parliament or the state legislature. Enactment is a term. Again, since enactment is defined to include also any provision of an act. Okay. So, Section 6 talks about the effect of repeal would apply to a case where not only the entire act is repealed, but also where any provision of an act is repealed. Okay. We'll talk about it when we come to Section 6. Rules and regulations are nothing but a species of legislation. See, when the law is passed in Parliament, it is an enactment. It is an act of Parliament. Right? That act of Parliament will have a specific section which says, whenever the central government wants, and if so permitted in the sections, they can make rules. Right? So the rule-making power will be given to the appropriate ministry, the central government here. The Parliament will give it to the ministry, the executive. That is why this is called delegated legislation. In the Companies Act, you find in most sections, you will find as may be prescribed, such some as may be prescribed. Whenever you find as may be prescribed, straight away the central government gets the right to make rules and regulations. Central government makes rules, state government makes rules, Reserve Bank of India will make regulations. Okay, and so on and so on. Slight difference between rules and regulations. Okay, rules are made by the ministry. Regulations may be made even by quasi-judicial bodies like Reserve Bank of India, State Bank, SEBI, Securities and Exchange Board of India. These are called regulations. That's why we call SEBI regulations, RBI regulations. Okay. When you come to FEMA, you will understand it better. So, Central Government Ministry of Finance has made rules. RBI has given regulations. Okay. So on and so forth. So, rules and regulations. So, any rule or regulation made under an act of Parliament is a species of legislation. The legislature, instead of enacting, delegates the power to another person. That is the central government. Whatever is enacted by the delegate, that is also enactment. So the rules and regulations are part and parcel of the enactment. But be careful. There are circulars and clarifications and all. They are not enactment. Circular or clarification is the view expressed by the ministry. So you will find there is a circular which explanatory circulars are there. Whereas we find that there is a difficulty in implementation. Therefore, we hereby clarify that some blah, blah, blah. No problem. That is binding on the ministry and its employees, not on the citizen. If you feel that, because for us, it is the act of Parliament. And the rules made thereunder, yes. Regulations made thereunder, yes. Beyond that, I need not. If you tell this is the meaning, see, then you go and put it in the law. Why you are now telling, you are you to tell me. We will decide it. We will see. Let the judiciary decide. Let Supreme Court decide, or High Court decide, or Tribunal decide. Okay, if I get a law in my favor, then you amend the law. Yeah. You don't give a clarification to explain the law so as to change the law. No. The clarification cannot change the clear meaning of an enactment. Sometimes they give clarification like that and confuse. And our members again see nitpicking to the core. They will take that circular and keep arguing and say, no, sir, it won't apply. The act is very clear. Okay? But still they will argue and then they will litigate, go on and on up to high court. It's okay. I'm not a great fan of that. When the law is clear and unambiguous, if there is an ambiguity in the law, go by any judicial pronouncement if you want. But circulars generally are not a good idea. They are binding on the department, but not on me as a citizen. If it is giving me a benefit, I will take it. But if it is not, then I will know what to do. Even when it is giving me a benefit now, I will be a little wary because the law is supreme. The section is supreme. Very important. Financial year shall mean the year commencing on the first day of April. Thus, as per General Classes Act, year means calendar year. We already saw it, I told you, but now again I am repeating. So what was the basis for my statement? Somebody asked me, sir, year means, is it financial year? No. If the word sirf year is given, then only year is given, then it is calendar year, which normally in this world starts on January and 1st of January and ends on 31st of December. Right? Whereas our financial year in India, our financial year starts on 1st of April. Why? I don't know. 1st of April is a beautiful day to start, na? Financial year. We are going to come to 1st of April. What do you do on 1st of April? You celebrate? What do you celebrate on 1st of April? I'm sure you know it. On that day, we are starting the financial year. So you want to make fool of everybody. Want to make fool of shareholder, make fool of bank, make fool of government, make fool of country, make fool of yourself also. Finally, the guy who is going around making fool of everybody finally becomes the ultimate fool. So you'll see that whenever a guy is trying to cheat, finally who will be cheated? Not the others. The fellow will be the first guy to be cheated. Finally, he will be cheated. In the end of his life, he will realize, oh my God, I have cheated myself and I have wasted my life. So April Fool's Day is a beautiful day to start the financial year, which is why our enlightened Prime Minister wants to change this date from 1st April to 1st January to make our financial year January 1st to December 31st. So that, we can become a superpower. The minute we change our date, financial year, from April to January, we will become a superpower. How and all, don't ask me. But by changing the financial year, we will become a superpower. So, that way your Companies Act was also passed on April 1st only. Good. That could be a valid reason. Income Tax Act comes into existence on that day, 1962. Wow. That is why 1st of April. That's what. I'm so happy for you. Sir, for me, it doesn't matter, sir. You change it to 1st of July, I'm happy, sir. In America, 1st of July. America, the financial year is July to June, which is why our Rotary clubs, they start their year on July 1st, which is the American year, financial year, and end it on June 30th. Okay. So every country has its own rule. So if at all you want to become a real superpower, you should go to July 1st. You will become equal to America. Your currency will be accepted by all countries. You will be the emerging strong currency. Everybody will start holding rupee. They will stop buying dollar. Everybody will hoard the rupee. And the rupee value will keep going up. Every country will demand, I want rupee, I want rupee. And your financial year will become July 1st. You are the next America. That's all. Wow. I'm really looking forward to that glorious era when, our country will become a superpower. Mr. Pranav, if you think notification also apply to citizens, it is your view. Okay. Notifications. Hey, be careful. Pranav, words. Clarificatory circulars do not apply to you and me. Notification is a broader term, Baba. Circular also will be notified. Act of Parliament also will be notified. You understand? Notification different. See, when I'm passing a law, how to make it public, it will be notified. How? In the official gazette. When I'm giving a circular, it will be not be notified. It will be going to the minister. It will be going to the various, officers and to the chambers of commerce. Matter of information. To be on the safer side, they may notify it in the official gazette also. But the clarificatory circular is not binding on me. Please, if you want to have doubt on this, you check up, but don't confuse yourself with notification and clarificatory circular. See, there is a section, the central government is of the opinion that this is what that section means. They are entitled to that opinion. And the officers who come under that government will have to obey. No doubt about it. But not me. I'm a citizen. Why should I? I can interpret it the way I want. If there is a dispute between me and the government, there is an appellate remedy. I will test my appellate remedy. Right up to Supreme Court, I can go. Okay, you got the point. Very, very interesting. I think you are confused with the words notification and circular. Notifications apply to everybody. Sir, I think, I don't know how to make you understand. Sir, everything will be notified, sir, including your circular. So when Act of Parliament is applicable to me, don't worry. Notifications have nothing to do with applicability. Notification is merely an act by which we state that this is applicable. Act of Parliament, once notified, from the date of effective date, it is applicable to me. I can't disobey. Rules applicable to me. Regulations applicable to me. Got it? Circular also applicable to me. But clarificatory circular, where you are telling this is what this section means. Sorry, sir, I am not bound by it. Sorry, sir. I will appeal. I will interpret it, sir. Sir, there was sir, section 14A, another what is that? 14A of the Income Tax Act. That is the so-called, where an exempted income is offered, where there is an exempted income, any expenses incurred for that income will be disallowed. Logical, section logical. But then the Rule 8DD they formed, which was there. So there was an interpretation of Rule 8DD. See, for example, dividend was exempted from tax. So when you are having dividend income in the P&L, the officer had the ability to remove the expenses for earning that income claimed in the P&L account under 14A and all. But the department goes one ahead and says, in that 8DD, they say, if you have dividend, then I will take 0.5% of your investment and I will disallow it and all. That's also okay. Clause C. But my logic was, Baba, yes, I am having shares in my portfolio. The company's investment has shares. But they have not received any dividend. I have not shown any exempted income. How you can blindly go and take my entire investment portfolio and say, I will charge. I have not received any dividend. I have not shown any dividend income. So this is a disputable issue. There is a circular there that says this is how it should be done. I may not agree with it, sir. Sorry, sir. If you want me to accept what you are saying, I may be finding it very difficult, Mr. Pranay. Sir, I am just joking, Mr. Pranay. Because sometimes when I see our enlightened Prime Minister, I don't know whether to laugh or cry. So this was one suggestion given by him that if we change the financial year, automatically we'll become a superpower. Maybe so. I don't know. I don't have that type of wisdom and knowledge of this person. So I cannot question it, nor will I ever question it. What he says is absolutely correct. Month shall mean a month reckoned according to the British calendar. Meaning, that's why it's called English calendar year. See, sometimes in rental agreements also we will put the 5th day of every English calendar month. So, see, we have Saka era in India, which is also used by the Indian government. I'm sure you know that. We have something called, there was an emperor called Salivahana. So that Salivahana was a famous emperor. You should read about him. And that Salivahana era is there. That is called Saka era, which is used. We call it Salivahana Sahabdan. He was such a great man that we began an era. Just like, how, see, think about it. How does the British calendar work? It begins with the first, that is, technically it's supposed to relate to the birth of Christ. before Christ, after Anno Domini, okay, BCE, AD. Now, the point is, Christ was born on Christmas Day. Within which date are we taking here? We really don't know. That's a confusion. But basically, British calendar works on the basis of Anno Domini and BC. And we are now in the British year, or Anno Domini 2023 AD. Okay. The Saka era, if you ask me what is the Saka era, I don't know. But I'm sure it can be. See, you take a date and then you start counting from that. That's all. For example, the government of Tamil Nadu uses what is known as Thiruvalluvar era. Thiruvalluvar was a famous Tamil poet who has written a book called Thirukkural. You can see the statue of this gentleman in the Kanyakumari, huge 133 feet statue. Because there are 133 chapters in the book, the statue is 133 feet. Okay, it came long ago. We created this monument long ago, and it still stands. Even with tsunami, it stood. And it has not been, tsunami could not do anything to Thirukkural and Thiruvalluvar. So it stands there. And we use the Thiruvalluvar era in Tamil Nadu. So we have approximately decided on a date of birth of Thiruvalluvar. And from that day, we have started counting the era. So I think now we are in 2032 or 2050 Thiruvalluvar era or something like that. I don't know exactly. Thiruvalluvar era is there. That is also counted. And we reckon it from the birth of Thiruvalluvar. So since so many eras are there, okay, maybe I'm wrong about Salivahana. Maybe Kanishk started Saka era from 78 AD. Beautiful. So 78 AD British calendar becomes your first year of Saka era. And then we start counting, whatever you say. Okay, you are all highly knowledgeable people. I am a Buddha, so I'm just accepting what you are saying. Point is different. British calendar year is preferred. Okay. If you want to become superpower, first adopt Saka era. Ignore British calendar. Let us adopt Saka era. All of us should deal only in Saka era. So today's date, if I ask you, you should tell in Saka era, not in British calendar date. So if I ask you what is today's date, what you will say? 24th of March 2023. Okay. See, that's why there is a British calendar. Colonials, you are still a colonial country. Action. Good faith is a beautiful word. What is good faith? A thing shall be deemed to be done in good faith, where it is in fact done honestly, whether it is done negligently or not. See, my intention was to help you. My intention was to do something good for you. I did it in good faith. But due to some problem, it went wrong. In good faith. Anything done with due care and attention, which is not mala fide, is presumed to have been done in good faith, sir. See, when I do something in good faith, I cannot be sued for it. If something goes wrong, I did it in good faith. Okay, that's the point. Where the word faith is defined in an enactment, you cannot put this definition. But if the word good faith is not defined there, then you can apply. So this definition does not apply to an enactment, which contains a special definition of the term good faith. There are no major definitions. Good faith. So good faith is where, in good faith, I do something in the belief that I'm helping you or I'm helping the situation. Something goes wrong, I cannot be sued. Okay. See, good faith is generally understood in the civil law, and which may be taken as a practical guide in understanding the expression. See, you are selling goods to me. You have stolen, I shouldn't say you. Mr. X is selling goods to me. X has stolen those goods or obtained them under a contract where the consent was given, where the consent was not freely given by fraud or misrepresentation. He has obtained some goods, right? He now comes to me and he offers it for sale. I am a third party. I am not aware of the malafide nature. I am not aware that these goods are not belonging to him. I buy it in good faith. For consideration. Later on, when you come to negotiable, point is such a person who acts in good faith is protected. When I take something in good faith, I'm protected because I don't know about the irregularity. I paid consideration. I took it in good faith. But you can't, known criminal is coming and selling to me. Known fellow is a known thief is coming and selling to me. Obviously, I know the chances are these goods could be stolen. Then I should take some due care and attention. Okay, something like that. Okay. For example, I know that his name is Selvam, but in the watch it is clearly put Padmanabhan or Parthasarthi or whatever. That means what? Sir, how do your name is Selvam? Why your watch is having Parthasarthi? He has to give some explanation. Nah? Blindly, if I do it, then that is not good faith. Okay. So, the definition of good faith as is generally understood in the civil law and which may be taken as a practical guide in understanding the expression in the Contract Act. Nothing is said to be good faith which is done without due care and attention as is expected with a man of ordinary prudence. That's all. An honest purchase made carelessly without making proper enquiries cannot be said to have been in good faith, so as to convey good title. So minimum due diligence have to be taken and your thing. I know I was already expecting this. I think there is a lag. Can you confirm if it is okay now? Let me check up if I can. Change my connectivity. So let us see. Is my voice better now? Because I got a message that my connection is unstable. Is my voice better now? We'll check it out. If it continuing, you tell me, I will do something. So good faith is very interesting. So when you are buying goods, you should take the due care and attention as is expected with a man of ordinary prudence. Thank you for confirming that it is better. Thank you. This is a question asked in the examination. What do you understand by the term good faith? Explain it as per the provisions of the General Classes Act 1887. Mr. X purchased a watch from Mr. Y carelessly without proper inquiry. See, as I told you now, that watch is having the name of somebody else. This fellow's name I know. So I'll ask, whose watch is this? Suppose he says it is my uncle's watch. Salo, I have to believe him now. Minimum inquiry I should have made. But without doing anything, if I buy, then whether the purchase made could said to be made in good faith. Think about it. So in the given situation, Mr. X purchased a watch from Mr. Y carelessly, without proper inquiry. So I have highlighted that word, carelessly without proper inquiry. So when you see that wording itself, you should be alerted. Carelessly without proper inquiry. So they've given you the facts. Such a purchase made would not be said to be in good faith as it was done without due care and attention as is expected with a man of ordinary prudence. An honest purchase made carelessly without making proper inquiries cannot be said to have been made in good faith so as to convey good title. Meaning what? See, the goods that he has bought now, if they belong to somebody else, from whom Mr. Y has stolen the goods, then as against the true owner, X does not have good title. As against the true owner, X does not have good title. The true owner can always come and take it from X. Then what is the remedy of X? X can only file a civil suit against Y for recovery of price paid. See, it's not that X is without remedy, but goods do not belong to X because he has purchased it carelessly without proper inquiry. Later on, it transfers that the goods actually belong to Z, who is the true owner. Then the true owner can take possession of the goods. Obviously, I'm telling as if it's going to happen in 2 days. It will take minimum 5 years because the true owner has to file a suit against X. Then X will anyway go and say, I did it with due inquiry. I honestly believed I did it in good faith. That discussion itself will go for 2. First of all, the case has to be admitted. Then evidence will be heard. By the time Z gets the order, it will be too late. Chalo. But once that gets the order, he has to go and that's not enough. He has to execute it. He'll get a decree. The decree has to be executed. Then so many things. In the meantime, what should X do? As a matter of caution, you should ideally what they should do, they should include Y as one of the respondents. And in addition to that, X should give a criminal complaint against Y and proceed against Y for recovery of price. So many cases are there. Wow. That's one of the reasons why I told my son, please become an advocate. When he was in 8th standard, everybody expected he will become a CA. My father is a CA. I am a CA. They thought my son will also become CA. But my son was very clear. When in 13th year, he decided, I am a good public speaker and I got knowledge of English and I like to speak a lot and learn everything, reading and all. So I would not, and very poor in mathematics and accountancy. So I would prefer to become an advocate. Chalo, please do that. If that's what you want to do, do it. Because chartered accountant, I'll have to go and appear. 15 times I appear, everything over, case completed, order obtained favorably. Then I come to the client and I do like this, scratch my head. He will say, what do you want, Mr. Srikanth? How about my fees? What do you mean fees? How I can pay fees? I'm a poor man like that. The client will say, by that getting the money from the client is so difficult. Whereas lawyer, if he simply stands up in court, Your Honor, my client wants adjournment, or Your Honor, we are not yet prepared with the arguments. We want adjournment. That's all. So judge will immediately, okay, case adjourned, 23rd of April. Okay, that's all. 10,000 rupees for a junior advocate. If the same thing is done by a senior advocate, 1 lakh. Just getting adjournment. Okay. Fantastic profession. Okay. Mrs. K went to the jewelry shop to purchase diamond ornaments. The owners of the jewelry shop are notorious and indulging in smuggling activities. See, this is the clue. Known criminal, known smuggler. You are going and buying from him. Honestly, without making proper inquiries. Was it correct? Same. The question is, the answer is the same. Except that the situation is slightly different here. See, first of all, you know that they are notorious. Notorious is very important. Notorious. Notorious means he is known for his bad behavior. See, you think that he is a very, very honorable man. Everybody thinks like that. Then you are safe. But everybody knows that that fellow is a criminal fraud, not notorious fellow. You go to him and you buy a diamond ornament. You should have made proper inquiry now, whether it is title is true or not. So this is the point. These are questions asked in your examination. So, General Clauses Act, generally you find one question coming once in a while. Interesting. Can't let it go also. Government security shall mean securities of central government or state government. Okay. So, not a big thing. The word immovable property, very interesting definition. See, if the word immovable property is clearly defined in any other enactment, that definition will apply. But if the word immovable property is used in that enactment, but it is not defined in that enactment, then here it will apply. Okay, for your information, since it's the morning and a weekday, and I'm having another at 10 a.m., I'm conducting the MSOP for the Institute of Company Secretaries, the Management Skills Orientation Program at SIRC in Chennai. So I need to go. So therefore, I'm not going to give a break. Instead, I'm going to continue till 9:15. Okay, continue till 9:15. Right. I'm also very surprised that my friend Aslam is boycotting my classes. I don't know why. Maybe some valid reason. I don't know. Okay. Usually, Muhammad Aslam will be giving his comments. Maybe I irritated him so much that he ran away. He said, whatever I do, this fellow is criticizing me like that, and he got angry and he ran away. What to do? My apologies to Abdul Aslam, Muhammad Aslam. Hopefully he'll come back. See what happens when teachers, even in physical classrooms, I used to like my students a lot, and I will develop a personal association with them. In this, what shall I say, so-called new normal teaching mode, still I'm unable. See, for example, I have a face for Jnanesh Ingle. I have a face for Patsardi. Maybe that is not your face, but I have a face for you, and I interact with you. I cannot think of you as just comments in my query pad. You are human beings. You are with aspirations, with goals. My students. Okay, so I think like that, and that is why I miss my friend Muhammad Aslam and his comments. Slowly we have changed him from putting capital letters to normal letters. Slowly the change is happening. Okay, coming back to immovable property. Immovable property shall include land. No problem, land. Benefits to arise out of land means crops, tree. All that is benefits to arise out of land. Things attached to the earth. For example, the building. It is attached to the earth. So buildings, sheds, permanently fastened to anything attached to the earth. For example, machinery. Heavy machinery, you will find it will be riveted. Just check out when you next go to a factory, if you see a forge or a metal press or a heat treatment plant and all, they're all heavy. So, and they'll be shaking like that. Once the power starts and they start running, there'll be a lot of vibration. And that could even actually affect the building. So in order to avoid the shake, what we do, we put a metal sheet. We embed the metal sheet into the earth, into the foundation. At the time of flooring itself, we put a metal sheet. And then this machine we put and we rivet it. We make a hole in the metal sheet and we put a strong nut, and it's called a rivet. And then we tighten that rivet so that it cannot be shaken. That's called a rivet. And we use a rivet. Tightening rivet line cannot be removed so easily. Okay, so we put a rivet that's permanently fastened to anything attached to the earth, so that even if heavy shaking is there, it won't be communicated to the building. You won't find that also. Once it's properly riveted and embedded, it won't shake. And even if there is a lot of vibration, it will not shake. Okay, permanently fastened. So land, building, machinery, everything is immovable property. This is an inclusive definition. See, the Transfer of Property Act does not have this definition. It has a different definition. Okay, so in that law, it won't work. But any other law where the word immovable property is given, if it is not defined, you come here. Where, it is immovable property. According to this law, tree is an immovable property. Where in any enactment, the definition of immovable property is in the negative and not exhaustive. Means where suppose a law says immovable property shall mean, that is exhaustive. You remember interpretation? Immovable property shall mean or means. That is it. You can't bring General Clauses Act. But if there it is not exhaustive or it is merely negative, it says this is not there, that is not there, then to find out whether it is immovable property or not, then you can bring this General Clauses Act. So X owned a land with the tamarind trees. He sold his land and the timber obtained after cutting the 50 trees. Please understand, he sold his land and the timber obtained after cutting the 50 trees to Y. Please understand, Dhyanesh Ingle is asking a beautiful question. Tree is also attached to earth. Is it immovable property? Whereas in our example, what has X done? He owned a land with the tamarind tree. He sold his land and the timber obtained after cutting the 50 trees to Y. X wants to know whether the sale of timber amounts to immovable property. Land is immovable property. However, timber cannot be immovable property. Because it is not attached to the earth. Now, Dhyanesh Ingle is asking a nice question. Tree is also attached to earth. So if the same tamarind tree is attached to the earth, things attached to the earth, then it is immovable property. But in this case, what has happened? Fellow has cut it. Now it is not attached anymore. Timber is goods. For your information, it is not immovable property. It is goods. Sale of goods. It will come under GST. Okay? It won't come under Transfer of Property Act. Got it? I hope you got the subtle distinction. I'm happy that Dhyanesh asked that question now. So there's a subtle distinction when a tree is attached to the land versus cut and timber. Movable property shall mean property of every description except immovable property. So the minute you bring timber out of immovable property, it becomes movable property straight away. Okay? So anything which is not immovable property is movable property. Right? Debts are movable goods, movable property. In fact, the definition of the word goods in Sale of Goods Act, if you remember, it includes every type of movable property. Every type of movable property. There, that movable property, you have to come here. Then you should go to immovable property. If it is not immovable property, then it is movable property. Good. Thus, any property which is not immovable property is movable property. Debts, share is a movable property. Electricity is a movable property. How you will see electricity, no doubt, movable property, but where you, sir, I am going to deal with the movable property, sir. I will touch it. That's it. You're out. See, electricity was one of the primal forces. Okay, is one of the primal elemental forces. Okay, of course, as a Hindu, you know, I worship all the primal forces. 5 elements I worship. Okay, and I worship God in all the 5 elements. I don't worship the 5 elements. I worship God, who is there's only one God, Supreme God. I worship Him everywhere. In everywhere I worship. And since the 5 elements are embedded in everything, I worship Him in the 5 elements. Panchabhudam I worship. And when I worship Him, electricity is also one of the Bhudams now. But it is not separate Bhudam. It is, electricity is part of Agni. It is fire and heat and light. So Agni. And so that way, very much a primal force and worthy of my worship. Since I'm anyway worshipping Agni, I can worship electricity also. What is that? Okay, conceptually. Sorry for the philosophical lecture, but belief system, you know, it's a belief system. Elemental forces are representation of the Supreme. And when you see an elemental force, you see God in that. That's all. I am not a fool to worship a rock. I am not a fool to worship fire. I worship fire because I can see God in it. Okay, Indian law shall mean an act, ordinance, regulation, rule, order, bylaw, or other instrument which before the commencement of the Constitution had the force of law in any province of India or part thereof, or thereafter has the force of law in any party or part C state or part thereof, but does not include an act of parliament of the United Kingdom or any order of in council. See, this section, this subsection becomes very important. One second. Manoj Kumar Thakur comes in with something funny. Electricity is a tangible property. Yeah, it is tangible. You got a valid point. Tangible property, but not to be touched. Be careful. It is tangible. You got a very valid point there. How do you define tangible? Very philosophical, sir. Very, very philosophical. Swami Chinmayananda, when he was explaining God to us, or Supreme, or Brahman to us, he will say, how to know Brahman? You can't see. You can't see with your naked eyes. It's not. The restricted body cannot see the Brahman. If you know, then how to know? By its effect, you will know. Then he will say, you can't see electricity. You definitely cannot touch electricity. But how do you know it is there? Because the light is burning. When I see the tube light burning, I know God is there. I know electricity is there. Sorry. Okay. So same way, when Srikanth is talking nonsense like this, that means God is there. Okay. Because without that, how I can talk like that? Anyway, sorry. The nonsense stops now. Yeah, Manoj Kumar Thakur, you want to touch electricity? Your experiments with the electricity will be very short-lived. So don't do that. Okay. But you know why they bring it under movable property? They want to charge GST on that. So you pay GST on electricity because it's goods, mobile property and goods. That's all. No other reason. Okay. So let us not play with electricity. Right. India, see, basically they are giving life to laws made under the pre-independence laws are now confirmed as Indian law. But where the law was made in Britain for British, that will not apply to me. Okay. See, we had a separate body in England which formed laws for us. Okay. They formed laws for us and those laws. The Parliament of the United Kingdom made laws for England. Those were not applicable to us and do not become Indian law. They cannot become Indian law. Offense, we saw that now earlier. Offense shall mean any act or omission made punishable by any law for the time being in force. Friends, if any act or omission is punishable by any law for the time being in force, such an act or omission is an offense. That's all. That way, just now sitting here talking to you, I am committing many 15 or 16 offenses. I don't know. There are so many laws prescribing so many things. I'm not doing it. Committing offense every day. Okay. And for being very, very careful. Compliance is so difficult in today's world because there are so many offenses. You have to be very careful. Suppose you don't see, we saw so many offenses under the Companies Act. Not doing this, not filing that, doing this, all sorts of things. Okay. If it is punishable by any law, it is an offense. Imprisonment, they are giving a clarity. Okay. Shall mean imprisonment of either description. Under the Indian Penal Code, you have simple imprisonment and rigorous imprisonment. There are two types of imprisonment, rigorous and simple. Rigorous is with hard labor. Simple is just keeping me or you, or keeping somebody in a separate area. Because he'll be given normal food, etc. Maybe he might have to do some little work, but not rigorous. Whereas in the British period, in Andaman and all, you had rigorous imprisonment. RI, where our Savarkar and all were there. Rigorous. They will be punished. They will be whipped, beaten. If you go to Andaman Island, you will see there is one, the jail is there. It is a museum now. The Andaman jail is a museum. I've been to Andaman about 3 times and 2 times I've been to this jail. And it's okay. You will feel very bad the way they were treated. There is rigorous imprisonment going beyond that. So when an act provides that an offense is punishable with imprisonment, the court may in its discretion make the imprisonment rigorous or simple. So the word imprisonment is used here. Then the court discretion is whether rigorous or simple. Today, I don't think courts are giving rigorous imprisonment. Only simple imprisonment. Rigorous, no. In those days, British law, rigorous imprisonment was regularly given. And there was Kalapani, going to Andaman and all, and or they were shipped to Maldives. If you committed an offense, punishment was rigorous imprisonment, but not in India. You will be Desha Prashtam. You will go out, be taken to Maldives, where you will work in the sugar plantations. Or you will go to Trinidad and Tobago, where you will be. There's a huge Indian diaspora in Trinidad and Tobago. They don't consider themselves Indians. They consider themselves more British than Indians, but they speak Hindi or Bengali or Tamil and all. Because they were basically people from India who were sent for, because of this. Australia is a classic example. People who are convicted of any offense in England, okay, for example, poaching. Fellow was hungry, he shot a deer in a lord's hunting grounds and fellow was caught red-handed. Then the same lord became the judge also. There is a beauty of it. And he sat in the Assis and he said, what do you want? You want to die? Because the punishment was hanging. Or you want to go to Australia? Sir, I'll go to Australia, your lordship. Gone. Put him in the ship. And all these guys, the criminals, they went to Australia. Now they are the big shots in Australia. Basically criminal colony. They were sent from here to work there. But then some of them became very popular and that is how Australia became the country. In fact, I'm just joking. Most of the guys, not all, Some people went because here they could not survive. They went there, became advocates, engineers and all, and they built Sydney and Melbourne and all. Okay, the word person is defined here also. So don't think this is a universal definition, because you will find every law defines person separately. In case a law does not define person, okay, then you have to come here straight away. But you will find that Income Tax Act defines person, Companies Act defines person, FEMA defines person, almost most enactments define person. Person shall include any company or association or body of individuals, whether incorporated or not. Okay, simple definition. Income Tax Act has a very complex definition. It includes the artificial persons, okay, entities. Everything is included in that. Registered, again definition used with reference to a document, shall mean registered in India under the law for the time being in force for the registration of documents, right? So, just simply, these are all clarificatory definitions. Rule shall mean a rule made by exercise of a power conferred by any enactment. So every enactment will have rule-making section. Specific section will be there under which the central government will be given the power to make rules. Schedule shall mean a schedule to the act or regulation in which the word occurs. So when you say schedule, you mean schedule to that act. Section mean a section of the act or regulation. This is just clarificatory. Subsection means subsection. That is, you know that well. I don't have to waste your time on this. Expressions referring to writing shall be construed as including references to printing, lithography, photography. See, writing means not sirf haath mein. You're just writing, no. It includes printing, lithography, photography, and other modes of representing or reproducing words in visible form. What a definition. Huh? I love these definitions. See how comprehensively they've used the English language to cover every situation. I mean, you should appreciate it first. Okay. Other modes of representing or reproducing words in visible form. I'm not speaking to you, right? What I'm saying is oral. To make it writing, okay, I have to represent it in visible form. I may do it by writing, or I may do it by printing or lithography. There is one type of printing. Photography is writing, they say. Okay. See, they have, shall we say, been prescient. They have guessed that the technology that they see, remember when this was enacted, paper as we know it was not there. I told you, I showed you the quill pen was there. They used the quill pen. I showed you the quill pen, right? You dip it in the ink and write. At that time, these fellows are able to imagine. Okay. And they are able to, and photography was just coming, Baba. 1897, early photography. Means if you see those cameras, you'll be shocked. There were cameras in 1897, but not the type of complex cameras that you have. Today, what you do, there's a paper, immediately you take a photograph, then you go to camera, you take a photograph, then immediately you share it on WhatsApp. I get it, I look at it, I take a call, I call you back, or I send you a message. See how fast work goes on. My people type out the letter, I dictate what I normally do is I dictate the letter into Keep, Google Keep. Then as I dictate it, Google Keep will convert it into words in writing with visible form. So I take out my mobile, as I'm going in the car, I'll dictate the response. About 1 or 2 pages, I'll dictate it. Then I will save it and I will copy it to WhatsApp. Then I'll send it to my manager. He will then go through it, put all the formatting and all that. Then he will send it back to me. Then I will again verify it for any obvious errors and all. Then I will confirm, go ahead. Then immediately he will print it on a paper or he will upload it onto the income tax website, MCA website. All this is happening without paper. Paper has not come into the picture at all. But words have been represented in visible form. Imagine. No paper. no writing, but still it is writing. When I spoke into Google and my words were converted into visible form, writing. Just very interesting. I don't want you to think that I'm wasting your time. I want you to appreciate so that you will know how they have been so, they have been able to think ahead. The lawmakers who are drafting laws today, they are not able to think ahead, think beyond, use words like this. They are not able to think. They don't know how to think. Forget thinking ahead, thinking for another 100 years. Macaulay, when he wrote the Indian Contract Act, was thinking for 100 years. And his law has not been damaged, disturbed. 200 years, his law will not be disturbed. Okay, Macaulay was a rascal. Macaulay was no good. As a patriotic Indian, I will denounce Macaulay. But as an intellectual, as a student of law, as a teacher of law, I will appreciate Macaulay. Okay. So, definitions of section 3 are very interesting. Almost 50 slides, definitions. Only 2 questions have come now, good faith and immovable property. That's all. That's why I have taken all the questions asked in the exam and I have put it in my slide. The definitions in section 3 of the expression central act, central government, gazette, government, etc. shall apply unless there is anything repugnant in the subject to all Indian laws. In any Indian law. So which means they won't define it in that law at all. You will find that these words are not defined in any law. If you want the definition, you have to take it from here. Unless there is anything repugnant in the subject. Means if you use the word central government or gazette, etc., there should be something objectionable. Then you can't apply. But otherwise, yes, it will apply. In any Indian law, references by whatever form of words to revenues of the central government or of any state government shall, on and from the first day of April, be construed as references to the Consolidated Fund of India or the Consolidated Fund of the state. See, all taxes collected, all revenues generated, in those days it used to be called revenues of central government or state. Now it goes into what is known as the Consolidated Fund of India. From the Consolidated Fund, those revenues are then distributed to the various ministries for their planned budget expenses. Planned budget expenses. The budget gives budget is not just about income tax, Baba. It is also, the finance minister talks about how much allocation is there for each ministry, for each activity. All that is decided and all that is given from the Consolidated Fund. So we move on to section 5 of the enactment. We'll be having another 15 minutes, in which case I will try to complete up to 6 or 7 section and then we'll close. And then in the evening, we will take up the balance of General Classes Act and go till end and inshallah finish it today. Where any central act has not specifically mentioned a particular date to come into force, it shall be implemented on the day on which it receives the assent of the Governor General. But in the case of central acts made before the commencement of the Indian Constitution and of the President in case of Act of Parliament. So before independence, it will be Governor General. I'm sorry, before the Parliament, the Constitution of India was framed, Governor General. Post Constitution, President. Because once the Indian Constitution came, we got our first President of India. Okay. Who was the first President of India? Quiz. GK quiz. Who was the first President of India? See, Presidents of India sometimes have party affiliation, sometimes don't. We have had independent presidents also. Some have party affiliation, some are independent. For example, Neelam Sanjeev Reddy, not Neelam Sanjeev Reddy, V.V. Giri was once for Congress, then again once he was independent president. V.V. Giri. Very surprisingly. V.V. Giri was Dr. Rajendra Prasad independent. Okay. When I was preparing for this Constitution talk, for the TV program, I did all sorts of research in presidents of India and all that stuff. The idea was not to just give dry constitutional law, but talk about that. In case of a central act made before the commencement of the Indian Constitution, the president in the case of act of parliament. In fact, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, absolutely correct. You're right. Dr. Rajendra Prasad. I think it was Dr. Rajendra Prasad who died in Tashkent. When I was in Tashkent, there is a memorial statue of Dr. Rajendra Prasad in Tashkent. And the hotel where he stayed also, we stayed in the same hotel where he stayed. I mean, almost all Indians stay there only in that hotel. It's a huge hotel. Forget the name. Nice hotel. So, but believe me, today, all enactments are notified in the official gazette. While in the notification, they will tell when it will come into force. Otherwise, they will say it will come into force on when it is notified as such. Then they will have another notification when they will say so-and-so section or so-and-so act which has been passed or amended will come into force from so-and-so date. So you have to refer to all that and be there. All laws which affect substantive vested rights generally operate prospectively. What do you mean? When a law is amended or when a law is passed, whatever that law provides will be applicable from the date of coming into force. From that date onwards only it will be law. Unless otherwise stated, all laws are prospective. Means the change in the law will apply only from that date and thereafter. But if specifically a law can say that this change will reflect back to right from 1/4/2020, that means it has retrospective effect. It's called a retrospective amendment. See, Vodafone case, post-Vodafone case, they amended section 9. That was a retrospective amendment. Retrospectively, they amended it. Normally, retrospective is not a good idea. Because you see, I have done many things in good faith, believing that this is the law. Now you come and amend the law and change it and say, even on that date, this is how the law was. Whatever I did in good faith will become bad. So normally retrospectivity will not. But suppose somebody has committed a criminal offense or something which is not permitted by law. Now the act is amended. So while doing that, they will say even those acts which are done 5 years ago are wrong. Nothing wrong. But even then, retrospectivity can be constitutionally challenged. Even if there is a retrospectivity, it can. Sir, act is, when a law is passed in parliament, it is called act. Got it, sir? When a law is passed in parliament, it is called act. When you do something, it is called act. English, unfortunately, two meanings. Anything done, a law passed in parliament is an act. When you do something, for example, you have paid money into the bank, it is an act. So when an individual does something, it is an act of an individual. When a law is passed in parliament, it is an act of parliament. Once an act is passed in parliament, when a law is passed in parliament and becomes an act, once it comes into force, from the date it comes into force, every citizen of the country has to obey the law, which is an act of parliament. Got it, sir? But all laws, when they are passed or amended, will operate from the effective date onwards. They will move forward. They will move forward. Prospective. But sometimes the law can be made retrospective. But generally, there is a presumption against. If nothing is mentioned, the law is prospective only. You cannot presume that it is retrospective. But if the law specifically uses express words giving retrospective effect, or where the language used necessarily implies that such retrospective operation is intended, then it will have retrospective. Sometimes they use, it's called introspective. See, they will say this act is prohibited and shall have been deemed to have been prohibited from 1/4/2020. That means even if this was done in the past, up to 1/4/2020, any date it was done, it is offense. So retrospectivity can be there. There is no prohibition on retrospectivity, but it cannot be presumed. It has to be expressly stated in the law. So hence the question whether a statutory provision has retrospective effect or not depends primarily on the language in which it is couched. Couched means phrased, worded. Okay, you're not happy with the word couched, then remove it. Instead, you put in the language in which it is worded, in the language in which it is given. Worded, that will be a better worded. The words used in the enactment, that's called worded. Couched is also a very, very old English term, meaning worded. Your letter is couched in bad, unnecessarily offensive language, like that. So the words used are offensive, like that. Couched. If you don't like couched, remove it. You can use the word worded, in the language in which it is worded. See, I like to use complex English words. I am a sort of follower of Shashi Tharoor. Whenever possible, I will use words that are complex. So to display my knowledge of English, to show off that I know more English, like that. But I can also write in simple English. My guru has insisted that I should write in simple English. In fact, my guru kept on correcting me. Professor K. Santraman, Srikant, you are using unnecessarily complex words. Use simple language. But then I used to tell him, sir, I know these words, sir, where I will use them. Then he will say, if you use this word, can the other person understand what you are writing? That is not my problem, like that. When I wrote my first book, I extensively revised it and made it simple. Because he said, you are writing for students, Srikant, you are not writing for some intellectuals. Okay. Sometimes when I write intellectual essays and all, I use very, very complex words. Because the audience for whom I am writing would be equally aware of what I am talking about. But when I am talking to students, I should not use. Unfortunately, see, this word is not my word. It is used in the Institute of material. So that's why I'm saying, if you don't like the word couched, then please, primarily on the language in which it is worded. So you should look at the words of the act. If the words are clearly saying past, it will be effective from so-and-so date. Then retrospectivity is included. It is there. But if nothing is mentioned, then it is prospective. You may be right, sir. I don't have information about this, Manojji. I don't have information about this, but presumption is correct. Because it was enacted before 1950, it must have been given assent by Governor General and not by President of India. There was a very short gap of time. And believe me, Chartered Accountant Institute came in 1949. But the Chartered Accountants were there right from 1857. CS. Because the British were there now. They were members of the Institute now, of the British Institute now. They were practicing in India. Your Fraser and Ross were all Britishers. Your Price Waterhouse were all Britishers. They were practicing in India. Of course, then they started admitting Bengalis and Indians and others who then become partners and all that. Okay. So then it came up. So these people were already there. When the institute came into existence, there was a whole lot of people who were already government diploma in auditing or members of the institute. All of them automatically became members of the new institute. So yes, that must have been a flux. So it could have been the Governor General. You are right. You are right or wrong, but your assumption could be right. Sir, your simple word, you have to start learning complex words. And which definition is complex? You ask a specific doubt. See, because I'm teaching many definitions. Which definition? Sir, this definition is very complex. Which word? Definition of which word? Vedant, instead of expecting people to make things simpler to you, try to become able to understand complex. I'm not saying I will not explain simple words, but if you expect it to be done like that now, going forward, who will do the explanation for you? And again, please tell me which word is which definition is complex. Which word? I will explain. But I'm unable to understand which definition is complex because I've finished definitions. Now I'm coming into operation. What is it that you don't understand in prospective and retrospective? Prospective means future. From date of effective date onwards. Retrospective means past. So act will always operate in future. It cannot be made operative to the past. But if the law specifically says it will be applicable to a backdate, okay, backdated. When you want to backdate, if you want to backdate it, the law, that is called retrospective. Okay. So sometimes some laws will clearly say that this amendment will be applicable from an earlier date. That is called retrospective amendment. Have you understood? Normally, retrospectivity is not allowed. But if words are clear, stating that it will apply. If the act is silent, it is always prospective. There is a presumption against retrospectivity. I have Isse Asan Kaun. How? You tell me. Okay, now we come to section 6, where any central legislation or any regulation made after the commencement of this act repeals any act made or yet to be made, unless another purpose exists, the repeal shall not revive anything not enforced or prevailed during the period at which the repeal is effected, or affect the previous operation of any enactment so repealed. See, I am repealing a law, which means once we repeal a law, it will no longer be valid. But anything which was done before the repeal would be there. It will not be destroyed. See, again, even a repealed law, you cannot repeal it with retrospective effect. Okay. Similarly, when you repeal a law, suppose something was done in the past, you can you can only apply the law to the future. You cannot repeal the law now, go back and say even those cases are covered. No. What was done in the past before the repeal would be affected, but future they can avoid. So repeal of a law can only operate prospectively. It cannot also operate retrospectively. Same thing. Here it is a positive act. Here it is a repeal. Here I am passing a law, and that law is applicable from the date of effective to future. It cannot be made retrospective unless specifically stated. Repeal can never be made retrospective. It is always future. From the day the law is repealed, thereafter. Okay. Before that, got it? See, for example, some offenses might be criminal. But once the law is repealed, then that law which made it offensive is repealed. From that day onwards, it will not be crime. But before that, if you have done it, it is a crime. You cannot say even those fellows are escaping. No. Okay. Fantastic. So, repeal will not affect any right or privilege or obligation acquired before, or affect any penalty, forfeiture or punishment incurred in respect to any offense committed against any enactment so repealed. Simple boss. FEMA came, Foreign Exchange Management Act came. FEMA repealed FERA. The Foreign Exchange Management Act repealed FERA. But any offense committed under FERA, that alone was saved. The penal provisions alone were saved, and the adjudication provisions alone were saved in FERA. So FERA was repealed completely, but the punishment sections and the adjudication and appeal sections were saved. Why? Because any offense committed under the old FERA would be punishable under FERA. You cannot say, hey, the law has been repealed, therefore I committed the offense. But where is the law now to punish me? So they very clearly said, even though we are repealing FERA, the penalty provisions will continue. Any offense committed under that time, if you come to know about it now, we will still punish you under the old law. Got it? So effect of repeal is, in this case, they specifically saved a repeal provision, the penal provisions. Even if they have not done that, any offense committed under FERA can be punished. Okay. It will not affect any inquiry, litigation or remedy, which is already, for example, the Wealth Tax Act has been repealed, but it was there up to what? 2019, I think it was there. I don't know, I forget. Doesn't matter. Point is, it's applicable up to a date now. So any wealth that you have, which is taxable wealth, escaped assessment, up to that date can be taxed, even though the Wealth Tax Act itself has been repealed. Correct. any new law will repeal an old law, no? But while doing so, this repeal cannot go back and say, because the law has been repealed, anything done, mistake done under that law cannot be punished. It can be punished. Okay. Fantastic. Where any central act or regulation made after the commencement of this act repeals any enactment by which the text was amended by the express omission, insertion, or substitution, then the repeal shall not affect the continuance of any such amendment made so repealed and in operation at the time of such repeal. That is, where already an amendment was made, till the date of repeal, that amendment will continue to apply. Okay. In other words, when a law is amended, the beneficial effect of that amendment, you cannot take it back and say, hey, this was the intention. For that also, you have to apply that same like that. No. Got it? In any central act or regulation made after the commencement of this act, it shall be necessary for the purpose of reviving either wholly or partly any enactment, wholly or partially. Then this section will apply to all central acts, okay, and to all regulations. In other words, to revive a repealed statute, it is necessary to state an intention to do so. So you can revive. A statute which has been repealed can be revived. So, where this act or central act made after the commencement of this act repeals and reenacts without modification any provision for former enactment, then references in any other enactment or in instrument to the provision so repealed shall, unless a different intention appears, be construed as references to the provision so reenacted. For information, many places in the Income Tax Act still refer to sections in the Companies Act, 1956. Because the Income Tax Act was not amended. When this 2013 law came, they did not amend it there. For example, you will find they will talk about the old 1956 amalgamation provisions. Section 394, 396 of the Income Tax Act 1961, when they are talking about amalgamation and demerger, they will talk about old 394, 392, 394. Whereas those sections have been amended now. The new law has come. So, are you able to understand section 8? In case an enactment is referring to an old law, I'm simplifying it for you, Vedantji. Ignore all this. Listen to me. There is a law. It is referring to another law. It is referring to an old law which has been repealed. For example, Companies Act 1956 repealed. But Income Tax Act still talks about Companies Act 1956. Then such a reference will be deemed as a reference to the new law. That's all. So how do I say this? Section 8 of the General Classes Act. Remember. So one law is mentioning an old law. That law is no longer there in the act, is not there, but corresponding law is there, new law is there, new section is there. Then any reference to the old section and old law will be taken as reference to the new section of the new law. That's all. You don't have to tell that law is wrong. It is referring to an old law. No. Okay, we have to refer to old law. Now there's a new law. Na? Whatever we said about the old law now applies to the new law. You include the new law. That's all. Very beautiful provision in the General Classes Act where it makes life easy. Even if some mistake is there in Parliament has not amended, old law is referred, no problem. It refers to the new law. Suppose somewhere they have talked about FERA, then automatically it refers to FEMA. Automatically it will be treated as FEMA. Whenever an amendment is made, then the law should be followed with the amendment and not the older part of this. Exactly, sir. Exactly, sir. You are got it. Amendment shall not affect the prescribed things. That is old. What was done in the past will not be affected. You are absolutely correct. Fine. So happy. Now we have, as I told you, I thought I will close it for this moment and we will, today, we will be talking about both the day, throughout the day, we are going to finish General Class Act. Mega session, morning, evening also. So evening 6 p.m. we will catch up again. Till then, have a great day. Enjoy yourself. Bye. Sir, class over, sir.